This was one of my very first Stitching Cosmos quilts I made in preparation for getting ready to start teaching it. Hi, I'm Sarah from sewingmastery.com, and I am the one that does all the free video tutorials and online courses to help you master your sewing machine. But I wanted to answer some questions that I got in multiples this past month, and I thought, why not put together a little kind of question and answer sewing machine questions and tips that I answered a lot of this month. And I'm thinking we could almost start a little kind of monthly session where you might put a question in the comments that I could come back and answer for you in our next video. So I'm going to encourage you to leave your sewing questions in the comments. So I can't wait to see what maybe questions we'll answer next month. Now this first one is actually came in 2 emails 24 hours apart, 2 different people. And they were asking about a triple needle. Now, a triple needle is, wow, you think about extreme sewing, this is definitely going to up your game. A triple needle is 3 needles. Now, of course, you've heard of a double needle or a twin needle, which is one of our complete lessons we do in our Stitching Cosmos online course. And we really go in and explore all the things that you can do with decorative stitches, with pin tucks, and we do reference a triple needle. So the questions came in, where can I buy one? So number 1, I'll put a link below. You can find them on Amazon. Just go ahead and click there. We do get credit for your purchase if you do click that link. By the way, thank you. And how in the world do I thread a triple needle? So if you've looked at any of our videos on how to do or thread your machine for a twin needle, a lot of your machines have 2 tension discs that you come through at the top. Now, a lot of times when you're just threading for one thread, you don't notice that there's 2. There's kind of like a little separator. And so when you put 2 threads through, you put one on one side, one on the other, and each thread kind of has its own personalized tension disc. So when looking for a place for that 3rd thread, go ahead and just choose one side, either the left side or the right side, that will need to accommodate 2 threads, and the other side will just accommodate 1 thread. So when it's 1 thread, you just kind of naturally end up going either on the left or the right. Here's a sewing tip for you. Watch next time you thread your machine, if you have that separator, which side you go on naturally. So it just kind of depends on how you kind of catch it. You'll probably find you're more dominant on one side. If you have any sewing problems, kind of some hiccups that you're not knowing how to fix, you can actually sometimes go in the other tension discs and find the solution by having kind of a cleaner channel. So what happens is sometimes over time, stuff gets in there, residue from your thread, all that stuff. And if you haven't gotten to your cleaning lately, this is kind of like having a fresh lane to put that thread in. So give that a try. That actually sometimes works. But to clean it yourself, you can almost just take a paper towel, little Windex. Yes, we use Windex in a lot of our cleaning. And you can almost go back and forth on both sides of that tension area and kind of clean it out yourself. So that is one thing I do notice, like when people have pets at home, if you don't cover your sewing machines, that's one place that kind of some of the pet hair gets in and kind of the gunk builds up over time. And that's why you want to have your machine serviced on a regular basis. Okay, next question has come with our Stitching Cosmos course, but by the way, this is all sewing related. There's no embroidery, so if you want to really unlock the secrets of your sewing machine and see what it's capable of doing, check out the free videos that we have for that course. We'll put those in the description below. But what I'm talking about is people ask me, oh my gosh, I don't want to buy all those accessory feet. So yes, we do talk about accessory feet, but don't buy any before you enroll in the class or take the class or go through the class. Because what you're going to actually learn is which feet you actually will use. Since we all sew a little differently, this is one of those things that you might like a foot that I don't use a lot and vice versa. So why buy my foot when you should be buying this other foot? So find which techniques you really love. A lot of the techniques can be done with your feet that came with your machine, and that's what we do talk about. It's going to make it easier if you had that accessory foot, and we're explaining how to use it, where you'd use it, and all those extra things. So like I said, don't buy any feet before you take a class. Now, speaking of that class, if you're looking to go on a vacation coming up, you might enjoy the ability to be watching the course and then come back home and then watch it again at your sewing machine. And you'll kind of be hearing it for the second time. You can kind of working through some of the techniques, and because you've seen them already once, it will be a huge game changer watching the course more than once. So put it on, watch it, enjoy it. It's kind of entertaining. You'll be amazed of how much you'll learn just by watching and not doing, but then going back and then doing it. One thing we do talk about is your stitch book. So if you haven't already chose to do some pages of stitching out some decorative stitches, it is also very inspiring. You'll get lots of ideas from stitches that you didn't even know you had. So that's one thing that we want everybody to do. That is a free video that you can watch in the course and get started right away. Before I get into the next question, which is all about sewing curves, is only 1 in 10 of you watching these videos are subscribed to our YouTube channel. And I need you to click that subscribe button. It really helps us. It's your way of saying thank you for the free content that we have put out for you. And also make sure when you get to the end of a video that you click like. And that's true for all the YouTube videos that you're watching. So if you're watching a video, click like at the end or in the middle or before it starts so you don't forget. That is a great way of saying thank you for the people making you all this great content. Now, even when I have our in-person class students work on a curved block, they always freeze up. Sewing a curve can be a little daunting if you haven't done it lately. But one of the things I do notice is usually once they do it, because that's then their foundation for their class project, they're going to get to explore and try some of these techniques. There's just a few things that you need to know. Number one, the first thing is to shorten your stitch length. So if your sewing machine comes up at, say, a 2.5 millimeter, let's drop it down to 2 for stitch length, and that is going to make more stitches along the curve so it's smoother. And that is a true statement whenever you're sewing anything that's curved. The next thing to do is to sew slow. This is not a race as we do these blocks, and really once the blocks are done, and each block only takes 1 seam, which is kind of amazing to be like, oh, my block is done. Now I can start exploring. That's why we picked this particular foundation for this course, is it actually goes very quickly. But when you take the time to sew the curve, so we're not racing through it, I usually have everybody just sew about 1 inch and then stop. Set your needle to stop in the down position. A lot of machines these days will pop up and like hover, and if you have that feature, turn it on, because what happens when you're sewing a curve, you're kind of bringing 2 pieces together, and what happens is that when that foot pops up, they kind of relax, and that's really what you need, because then you can approach the next inch of sewing, and then the next and the next. And I also guide them not to put too many pins in. I know sometimes they want to put like 16 pins. I'm like, nope, you only get 5. And I only give them 5 because I need them to pin the edges, the middle, and then in betweens. And all you do is you stretch it between it. And not really, you're not pulling and stretching the fabric, but you're pulling them so the curves will come together. Plus, this size of block with this gentle curve is actually very manageable. If you had a block that was much smaller and that curves in there, it's going to be a little bit more tricky. So don't start on a too small of a block. We do kind of recommend some of the bigger ones. Also, these blocks are oversized. So if it doesn't come out perfect, or it's very close to being perfect, it's nothing that you won't be able to trim up when you're done. And that's what makes all the blocks look like they turn into circles. And I just love the effect. Every quilt that I see a student finish, and by the way, you don't have to be a quilter to do this. You don't even have to sew the blocks together. Just the fact that you're working through some of the techniques on some type of foundation, you don't even have to sew the curve. You could just do it on fabric. Practice. It's the act of doing that actually gets you comfortable with your machine. So I'm going to add one more thing in. People are always asking, and I didn't get questions this month, but I'm going to throw it in. What thread do I use? I do use a lot of Isacord embroidery thread, and I know it says embroidery thread in the title, but it's technically not just for embroidery. It's just because there's so many colors. It is a polyester, so it's very clean thread, doesn't leave a lot of lint when I'm stitching. It's very consistent. And polyester is a little cheaper than cotton thread, so there's that. I am going to tell you one quick story, and then I'll end this, and then put your comments as well as questions, sewing questions, that I can answer next time. Okay, so I had a student in class the other day, and she was having trouble with her machine, and I looked at her thread, and I said, what kind of brand of thread is? She goes, I don't know, I just bought a variety pack on the internet, you know, like a big sampler pack or a big group. And she goes, I got a good deal on it. And sure enough, she did. Because what happened was, is I took the thread off the machine. And you can do this on some of the threads, maybe that you've had trouble with, or maybe you thought it was your machine. It's actually your thread. But what I did was I actually took the thread like this, just held it, and then I stretched it. I pulled on it. And it literally pulled. Now, I have seen threads that are stretchy. They pull out, and then they pull back. And it's almost like a little bit of elasticness, and that will make a sewing machine not behave very well. But what happened with this thread, and I did not get the brand of it. I want to, because I really want to show it. But what happened was, is I stretched it, and it stayed at the new length. And I stretched it probably a good like 2 inches longer. And I went, oh, I didn't even know that was the thing. I thought, oh, okay, let's just see how stretchy it is. And then it stayed. It was like bubble gum. And then it just stayed in that length. I was like, what? So Isacord thread, I am pulling. I'm pulling. It's hurting my fingers. I've got lines in my fingers. It does not stretch. And I think that's why I've always had success with it, is because it's just a good quality thread. So if you have had issues, take a look at your thread. Go through, see which ones stretch. I hope they don't, because but if they do stretch a little bit and they work for you, it is okay. So just keep using those. But just know that some days it's not your machine's fault, it's what you're feeding it. So we all know good quality anything is better for our bodies, for our sewing machines as well. So don't forget to get your sewing machine service on an annual basis. Maybe once again you're going on vacation. It's perfect time to send your sewing machine to a spa day at a local service provider for you, and that machine will be running in tip-top condition when you get home after watching all your Stitching Cosmos lessons. Remember, we have free videos that you can watch in our courses, all of our courses. We have embroidery courses, we have rehooping courses. For embroidery machines, we've got tons, so find those links down below. And if you don't know which course would be right for you, drop us an email at info@sewingmastery.com, and I will send you a personalized list of which courses and free video tutorials you should watch. We can start mastering your machine together.